game has caught the attention of many online after IGN gave it
Aua, warum ist es so laut?
a 10 out of 10. That game being Mixtape. And with this, Mixtape
Ja.
started receiving criticism shortly after.
Es gibt, by the way, eine Stelle, in der es doch Gameplay gibt in dem scheiß Game. Na, wir werden sehen, hoffentlich.
With some people pointing out the severe lack of gameplay, describing it as more of a movie packaged as a video game. And even then, some scenes got criticized, like one where you are controlling the tongues of teenagers making out, or a scene where you rewind a mixtape but the designers were accused of getting the specifics of how it actually operates wrong, or even scenes where the dialogue is described as just corny or unrealistic. And now the whole thing has become a criticism of game journalism in general, with even the infamous journalist who couldn't get
das
past
war
the
so geil.
tutorial of Cuphead.
Der hat irgendwie auf Twitter gepostet, dass das Game great ist oder so. Der Typ, der das hier fabriziert hat.
On the situation, saying that Mixtape is
awesome.
But there's lots to get into, so let's just jump in. Welcome to the internet versus Mixtape. It starts when on Twitter, IGN gives Mixtape a 10 out of 10 with a caption.
Ich hatte irgendwie auch die lustige Idee, weil ich das Game selbst spielt, dass ich irgendwie so einen Stream mache. Ich habe mich dagegen entschieden, weil es ist nicht wert, das Game dafür zu kaufen, aber so unten links in die Ecke kommt so eine Mixtape-Cam und ich schaue einfach Shorts oder so, oder Reels oder irgendeine Reaction nebenbei und es läuft einfach dieses Game im Hintergrund und er spielt sich selbst durch. Das wäre funny gewesen irgendwie. Aber nicht funny genug, dass es sich lohnen würde irgendwie.
Musical delight from start to finish, Mixtape sets a new standard for coming-of-age stories in video games and does so with a masterful sense of style. And Discuss Things replies, no wonder they gave it that score, showing tags to the game atmospheric, story-rich, LGBTQ+, and female protagonist. And Dash Attack replies, progressive slop. Refical says, so when a LGBTQ game, like say, Veilguard gets low reviews, it's go woke, go broke. But when Mixtape gets critical acclaim, it's manufactured. Fucking cry harder, Snowflake. And Just Viking says they gave it a 9. Are you fucking high? Showing this screenshot of IGN's review. And Refical says, I love copy pasting the same reply because you love to regurgitate the same parrot opinion. And it's them saying, I'm referring to reviews in general, not just IGN. Novodestri replies IGN's post by saying, gotta keep this handy at all times, showing normal reviews and IGN reviews as just a complete inverse from one.
Ja, das ist true.
Says, if IGN
Ich meine, das ist sehr viel Twitter-Bullshit, der ist noch mittendrin, muss man zugeben.
gives a coming-of-age tale a 10 out of 10, you just know it's filled with gay. Fox85 says 10 out of 10, so it's a generational game like
das ist, was ich meine mit Twitter-Bullshit.
Mario, Final Fantasy VII, Metal Gear Solid, and Tomb Raider, etc. And John Wade says, don't know what happened in the last decade for so many of you to refuse to accept that different people are allowed to have an experience and opinion of their own. And Fox says, it's not really a personal review when they are representing the IGN company, are they? And John says, doesn't matter who they represent. Video games are intrinsically a personal subjective experience. There's no way around that. This isn't.
Also ja, man kann Gameplay verschieden aufnehmen, aber dafür braucht man Gameplay halt. Haha.
A math equation. It's crazy that this needs to be explained. And Ruggs says, cool. I guess then there's really no need for game journalists anymore. Thanks for making that blatantly obvious. Nivek replies to IGN's post with this screenshot of the author in the caption, coming from this dude. And Vertigo says, no way that's a man. And Nivek says,
Geht's um Mixtape oder geht's um Twitter-Beef?
after I posted this, he changed his PFP to this. Moy Dog quotes the post by saying, if you're mad at this score, you're outing yourself as never having hobbies, never having a friend group, never having a relationship, and never being able to
Ach so.
the ceiling with a buddy talking about life. Mr. Carlo says, you may say whatever you want, but 10 out of 10 should be reserved for generational games, and this ain't it. And Moydog says, if you grew up in the 80s/90s, it's a generational game. And Name Placeholder says, Lamau.
Nein.
What? This game is literally what some 2000s kids would think the 80s/90s was like. It's so off base. Sterling quote tweets the post by saying, I hate to be negative about content here, but this is an actual industry plant. It's okay to like this sort of game, but how it's presenting itself hurts actual indie games. Real licensed music, massive array of custom assets and cutscenes, fully voiced too, insanely pricey press kits sent out to small and big CCs, presents itself as indie. This is not indie. This is a refined product that was made for millions, most likely a medium-sized team of 12 to 30 full-time for years. This kind of low-hanging fruit plus indie labeling hurts actual small dedicated teams of real game devs. There will be actual indie devs that miss out on awards this season because of this extremely well-funded AA title masquerading as an indie. Any game that sees a commercial
Ja. Also das Schlimmste ist halt, dass dieses Game fucking in diesen Place reingekauft wurde.
release has a massive amount of labor.
Es ist natürlich auch ein Problem, dass der Creator massiv Geld hatte und deswegen basically ein AAA-Game machen konnte damit. Aber ich fände, das wäre jetzt nicht so ein großes Problem, aber ich glaube, das Game wurde auch mit Reviews gekauft und so, dass es direkt einen hohen Platz hat halt. Das ist nochmal das größere Problem, finde ich.
Worked on dozens of projects in the indie/AAA space that have never seen the light of day. I'm not bashing the game necessarily, but
Ich fällt gerade auf, ich habe die Untertitel hier angemacht. Die bringen aber gar nichts, weil ich die verdecke, Digga.
it's obvious that IGN rate baits combined with a huge non-organic marketing push. I wish these sort of games were more transparent in their means of creation. It only hurts the little guys, as always. Examples of CCs, Xbox, and Unreal referring to the game as indie, by the way. The game looks well crafted and will probably be fun for those who like these sort of experiences. The point of my post was saying that they are presenting as indie/benefiting from being mislabeled as such, and there's multiple tweets attached.
Ja, wie gesagt, ich will jetzt auch nicht sagen, dass das Game Arsch ist. Ich hab jetzt auch nicht so viel über das Game gesehen. Und man kann diese Art von Game mögen, aber ich habe ein Problem damit, dass irgendwie 20 Game Studios, nicht Game Studios, Game Critic Studios, also Game Critics halt, hingegangen sind und haben gesagt, das ist das beste Game, was jemals gemacht wurde, gefühlt. Und sie ist, glaube ich, warte, ich schau mal kurz auf, die ist legit hier in der Game-Beschreibung drin. Also ja. Und man sieht hier, die Rezensionen sind positiv, weil, glaube ich, viel gekauft wurde einfach. Ich weiß es aber auch nicht. Aber ich habe es so mitbekommen.
Here, there's this one by Luke Stevens who says, Mixtape is great, sharp, funny, and creative. The music selection is phenomenal, the art direction pristine, and the cast is great. Day one on Game Pass or $19.99 for 4 hours of fantastic indie charm. Highly recommend. Along with this post by Unreal Engine where they say, Unreal Engine helping indie devs create unique games is absolutely music to our ears, and Mixtape from B&D Studio is a prime example. The nostalgic coming-of-age story takes full advantage of UE's toolset. This YouTube video that Xbox made 2 months ago with the GDC Indie Spotlight, Mixtape replaced and more official Xbox podcasts showing Mixtape in the thumbnail. And finally, Luke Stevens clips a channel with a video titled Mixtape is a short, brilliant indie game that refuses to compromise. And Highland replies, the daughter of a billionaire, Larry Ellison from Oracle, getting tons of funds to make her game, gets it labeled indie, and it gets shoved with tins from every magazine despite the null gameplay. A bit more honesty would have been appreciated here. Everything out of context, quote tweets IGN with this meme saying, oh, gee, Mixtape is so good. Mixtape gameplay, and it's a blank controller. Rock solid, quote tweets IGN by saying, millennials replaced boomers in creative positions and are holding media hostage by only creating gay nostalgia wank for themselves.
Ja, IGN, was bei IGN? Die hatten doch auch diesen Dude bei Mario Kart World, der das Game richtig gehasst hat. Soweit ich mich richtig erinnere. Das war peinlich. Ich weiß nicht, ob es IGN war, aber das war einfach eine der peinlichsten Sachen, die ich jemals gesehen habe. Von Game Critics, dieser eine Typ, der Mario Kart World gespielt hat. Ich glaube, es war IGN.
JT says, coming of age story, IGN.
Also, weil ich weiß, war das nicht auf dem IGN-Channel, aber es war ein Typ, der bei IGN gearbeitet hat.
10. Pirate Nation tweets out this screenshot with a caption, IGN is just a joke at this point. They gave the industry-planned Mixtape a 10, but Subnautica 2, the most wishlisted game on Steam, a 7. I think they're laughing and baiting us. There's no serious journalism nowadays. And we have Subnautica 2 here with 466,000 currently in-game.
Das ist wirklich krank.
Rating being 7, and Mixtape with 738
Masterpiece.
people in-game, and a 10 masterpiece. Then Annapurna Interactive tweets out
Ah ja, das habe ich gerade eben gezeigt.
showing various ratings for Mixtape, and we have 10 out of 10s from IGN, DualShockers, The Indie Performer, and multiple more, along with 9s, 9.5s, 9.6. And Andy Worski replies, nobody is playing it, lol. And GamerOp says, looks like the best game in history according to these scores. Is video games journalism still a thing? Asking because this game has been invisible to me, like no other game with good scores in the last 30 years. Weird enough. And Annapurna says, every game is unique. We'd rather not compare care. We're grateful for the positive reception. If you play Mixtape, let us know what you think. And Royal Flush says,
Ich habe das Gefühl, dass das Game überhaupt nur Leute kennen, weil es einfach gehatet wird.
the reception is not positive among the players. You paid those corporate journal shills for the appraisal. Scammers. Michael Does Life tweets out this clip with the caption, Mixtape is absolutely terrible. It isn't even a video game. It literally plays itself. Do not buy.
Where's the gameplay? I'm not doing anything. Hands free, by the way. Hands free, by the way.
Das Krasseste ist, es sieht so aus, als wäre der Gameplay, aber es ist einfach nichts. Es ist ja nicht mal so ein Story-Game, wo man rumläuft und man muss Sachen rausfinden oder so. Irgendwie sowas. Sondern es sieht aus, als wäre es gerade eine spannende Sequenz, wo man Gameplay einfügen könnte, aber es passiert einfach nichts.
The game plays itself. Hands free.
Das ist wirklich krank.
There's no game here. Hands free. You don't even have to play it. Oh my god. You don't even have to play it. Don't even have to play it.
And Vito replies, the more you people pointlessly complain about this thing, the more I actually want to play it. Dude76 says, notice how everyone defending the game in the comments and attacking the
Lil Dassino, kann es nicht spielen. Es gibt ja nichts zum Spielen.
Want to play it. Dude76 says, notice how everyone defending the game in the comments and attacking the bug-eyed bro don't even address the criticism that he brings up. You don't even have to play the game. He isn't touching the controller. And evil Dr. Porkchop says, you and 90 other people are borderline sheeps. Just because there's no fail state doesn't mean there isn't gameplay. He's refusing to play the game because Chud like you clap like little seals because a game you aren't going to play to begin with got a 10. Snowflakes. And Dude says he progressed through a portion of the game without touching the controller. Once again, read my post. You didn't address his criticism at all. My point proven. Instead, you just threw insults. RC replies to the clip by saying, it's not a game for you, it's a game for they them. Barry Dinglesack says,
Was soll das bedeuten?
this game is made for people who are mad that Elden Ring is too hard and complicated for them. Esteban replies with this Steam review that
AKA Leute von IGN.
says, alright, so here's my honest take. The characters are super lovable, the soundtrack is amazing, and honestly the art style is one of the most beautiful I've seen in a while. Like visually and musically, it's top
Nee.
tier, but I'm pretty sure this isn't even a game. It honestly feels more like a movie or a short show. There's basically zero gameplay. You just walk.
Also Soundtrack habe ich nicht gehört. Und wie die Characters sind, keine Ahnung. Aber den Arthur finde ich jetzt nicht
No
so...
puzzles, no choices.
Also er ist in Ordnung. Er ist ganz gut, aber mir halt nicht. Ich würde nicht sagen most beautiful, also das ist wirklich
Nothing that
übertrieben.
actually makes you feel like you're playing something. The story is also just normal. It's about some teenagers hanging out on their last night. Nothing deep, nothing dramatic, nothing that really sticks with you. I'm actually surprised by how overwhelmingly positive the reviews are. Like, did we all play the same thing? At the end of the day, it's just kind of meh. Also, keep in mind, you
Yeah.
finish it in around 3 hours. There's no replay value, only one ending. And again, no real gameplay. It's only really worth it for the soundtrack and the art style. And for me, not worth the price. There are definitely better options out there. Jojo Josiah tweets out this clip with the caption, how Mixtape expect.
Aber wie gesagt, ich finde den Arthur jetzt auch nicht so krank. Der ist schon gut, don't get me wrong. Aber, wie gesagt, Soundtrack habe ich jetzt nicht gehört.
People to react to the game.
Aber wie gesagt, ist der Arthur jetzt auch nicht schlecht.
This ain't a catastrophe. It's a warning. Daddy, if you trap me here, this will only be the beginnings of my wicked ways. Because I'm angry and I'm wired and I'm fixing
Oh mein Gott. Oh mein Gott, das ist tot cringe.
a lot of trouble. If you stay here, I'm gonna burn the whole place down.
Was ist das? Roskis dachten, das ist der Weinboom.
And Parfait replies, genuinely can't believe this isn't an edit. Like they genuinely did all that dramatic nonsense thinking it would look cool. And Jojo says, it is le epic. And Parfait replies, I love Mixtape, I love Mixtape, I love Mixtape, 10 out of 10. Game of the year, IGN is the gospel, all must consume peak games like Mixtape. NovaCat says, this will only be the beginning of my wicked ways. And Jojo Rosiah responds, shocked. And my Chud Life quotes Jojo by saying, this game was made to be enjoyed solely by boring, out-of-touch white millennials who couldn't accept they had a privileged upbringing, so they want to pretend they were a generation of rebels. And Naroxa replies, "This is the coleslaw of gaming." Anthony Fantano quotes JoJo by saying, "So this thing is just a bad movie you can play with a controller?" Sonic Forces fan says, "People will say they hope
Nicht wirklich.
GTA 6 flops, then play this dog." Unironically, Jordan K says, "Video game where you're the good guy for threatening to arson an entire community to get what you want. No wonder journalists love it." Trigger Point says, "In the 90s, the cop would have beat the shit out of that kid." Wesley tweets out this scene with the caption, "If Mixtape was a movie, I wouldn't have been able to have so much fun doing this." And it's a compilation from one of the scenes of the game where you control them doing various things to music. The music is copyrighted, so we won't be playing the clip, but it's like nodding your heads to how you want them to do it, or tapping the side of the car,
Wow.
or whatever, or pressing the light. And Gorm the Old says, "If you thought that was fun, wait till you try games where you can fly helicopters and shoot rocket launchers." Bethesda says, "Notice how the player input ruins the scenes entirely, and it would have been better off as a movie." And Wesley says, "You're saying my fun ruined it, lol." And Bethesda says, "I did the exact same thing and thought this scene would be so much better if I didn't have control of it. I bet most people did this too. Some without thought though, clearly." Finney quote tweets the post by saying, "Minecraft story mode was more of a game than this." Thorium quote tweets it by saying, "The Black Ops 1 main menu has more gameplay than this." Colt says, "Epstein was right. You people really are cattle." Leg Eater says, "I want to apologize to Expedition 33. At least it was a game." Retro Shaman says, "If that's the most fun you've had in a video game, you must flip out when you discover a calculator." Cobson's Top Guy says, "Mixtape is a game made by someone who didn't have friends who really wished they had friends and made this game on what they thought a friend group was like." Ultima says, "This is actually legitimately, genuinely constant."
Ich liebe es immer, dass man bei Twitter merkt, dass manche Leute einfach komplett übertreiben immer auf dieser Webseite.
Constitutionally, damn near canonically, verifiably, veritably, without a shadow of a doubt, the closest thing to jingling keys as humanly possible. Narotsumi says, "Extremely short, little to no gameplay. The little gameplay is just jingling keys. This is a journalist's dream game. I see why it got so many perfect scores. Mixtape is the
Das ist das erste Game, was der IGN durchspielen konnte.
perfect game for people who don't want to play games." An average gamer says, "There's a whole lot of people out there trying to use gaming to live out fantasies like this and going on late night drive-through runs with friends and ordering burgers together. The pandemic did irreversible damage to a lot of people socially." Claudio Bazama tweets out this clip with the caption, "Since no one is sharing the video, here it is. Everything is wrong with this scene. That's not how tape works."
Put it on.
Put it on.
Aw, come on.
Ist das erste Gameplay? Das ist hart.
This should do it.
Hart.
And Designated Kitty tweets out this screenshot with a caption, "How are you going to make a nostalgia bait game and get basic shit wrong?" And they captioned various parts of this image saying, "No holes for the tape to be read. This would be a horrible way to rewind a tape. It would take forever. This trick was only used to retract tape back into the cassette if a player pulled it out. Also, cassette tapes have A and B sides. You don't need to rewind unless you're specifically listening to one side. Upside down cassette, wrong hole. This would be incorrect direction to rotate the pencil even if you were trying to rewind the tape. If you rotate it counterclockwise, you will dump the tape out of the cassette. This should be rotating clockwise."
Also, dass man nicht diese 5 Minuten Research macht, ist aber wirklich krank.
And Toasty Zelda replies, "My favorite part is that it's put in a player that has a rewind button." Joe quotes the post by saying, "Finding out the woman behind this is the daughter of the billionaire founder of an AI company suddenly makes shit like this in the double-ended garage makes sense." Arthouse Sean Levy tweets out, "It's legitimately funny how much gamers hate art, but also want games to be art." And the archivist says, "Art respect
Was?
the chosen medium of the arts. A video game without any gameplay is not a video game. It would be like making a movie, but only giving it sound and no visuals. They clearly made a movie instead of a game, and they made a bad one at that." And Sean Levy says, "There are movies that exist that have essentially no visuals." Joe says, "A part of the art of a video game is the fucking gameplay. Yes, characters, story, visuals matter, but gameplay equally should be the focus." And Sean says, "I think if you can achieve a feeling by just having someone press up for 4 hours, there's an arguably greater achievement than a game only achieves a feeling after mastering a complex gameplay system." Not Theo also posts the same clip of the segment we looked at earlier, where she's going to burn everything down, with the caption, "This game is so ass." And Reverie quotes it by saying, "It's a shame because the voice actor is trying as hard as she can to make this terrible dialogue sound presentable. Like, for what
Also der Voice Actor hat wirklich guten Job gemacht.
she has to work with, she's doing a pretty good job, but it's just fundamentally unsalvageable. Revenant says, "You cannot convince me that a sentient human would ever find this cool. Marvel-brained goy kibble." And Sean replies, "Well, the game journo who couldn't beat the Cuphead tutorial loved it, so this post checks out." And Revenant quote tweets him by saying, "The Cuphead tutorial guy is still employed as a game journalist almost a decade later. How much more proof do you need that Gamergate was a failure?" And on that note, here is the journalist Dean, who tweeted out, "Mixtape is awesome," and community notes got added to his post with
Nein,
50 million
haben die
views,
das
and
Video verlinkt, das ist
it
hart.
says, "Dean gained online notoriety for overlooking key game mechanics from the games he reviews. The most infamous example being Dean going through the Cuphead tutorial, overlooking the tutorial's visual hints." And Gaia Ray replies, "I can
Die Community Notes von Twitter sind Gold immer. Das einzige Gute, was Twitter jemals gemacht hat, gefühlt.
imagine you like it given that it doesn't require you to learn how to jump." Controversy says, "You suck at video games, so it makes sense you would like a game that has zero mechanics." Master of the TDS quote tweets him with this gif of the infamous video in the caption, "Did you finish the tutorial this time?" Marshall tweets out these two images in the caption. So let's review. Mixtape, a walking simulator where you take part in an explicit interactive kissing scene between underage children, is considered a 10 out of 10 masterpiece by journalists. Pragmata, a sci-fi action game built around a wholesome father-daughter bonding story that legitimately touched people's hearts, is hounded by journalists and Twitter freaks as, and I quote, problematic and..." Eric tweets out a picture of The Walking Dead, the game series, and captions it, "A lot of people attacking Mixtape would have hated this masterpiece game series." And Silver Lotus replies, "I'm honestly sorry, but in both games that you mentioned, your choices at least do something for the story. If they would have done that in Mixtape, I would have enjoyed the
Ja,
experience. Like,
das
Mixtape
meinte
was
ich ja
fun
auch.
for a nostalgia bait game, but that's where it stops, honestly. In The Walking Dead, you had to choice which direction you wanted to go. Who to side with, just not doing anything also changed outcomes. In Mixtape, you can
Ja, wie gesagt, in solchen Story-Games muss man halt Entscheidungen treffen können, damit das Game irgendwie gut ist.
unplug your controller and the game finishes more akin to a movie than anything. I personally did not hate the game, just dislike that games like this are getting 10 out of 10 when they just aren't 10 out of 10. This is more a solid
Ich dachte,
7 out of 10 and to maybe
das hat sich zuerst so angehört, als würde er sagen, I don't hate the game, I just dislike it.
be an 8 out of 10.
Hard.
Mike Solid quote tweets Eric by saying, "The amount of disingenuous arguments surrounding Mixtape is fucking insane. Some people are dead set on defending a 2.5 hour movie game where you barely even have to interact with it to play it. Then during all of this, Xbox posted on their page, reminder, just because you're not personally into a game doesn't mean it's a bad game." And Ellie says, "Hi-Fi Rush was great. You closed Tango Gameworks anyway. You don't get to lecture anyone on what counts as a good game." Howling Rybeak says, "Or maybe, just maybe, the game is terrible." Jose Switch says, "We may start believing those scores once your clandestine sponsors rebuild their reputation," showing more reviews like Stellar Blade, where they rated it a 7, Crimson Desert a 6, Lollipop Chainsaw a 5, and then Mixtape a 10, Dragon Age Veilguard 9, Marathon 9. Insane Cope says, "Sorry, actually, my opinion represents objective reality, and everyone who disagrees with me is subhuman." Yorch Torch Games replies, "Mixtape is a lame, woke
Really?
teenager power fantasy for 30 to 40-year-olds who refuse to grow up." Before Quest says, "You know Mixtape is an industry plant when the billion-dollar company is defending it, Lamau." Ramis quote tweets the post by Annapurna Interactive showing all of the 10 out of 10s and captions it by saying, "The level of hate Mixtape is getting for its critic reviews is pretty unprecedented for how harmless the game actually is. It's not actually woke or DEI in any way, and no agendas are being pushed. Just a teenage and music nerd cringe for people who are nostalgic for those time. It's quite literally not a game made for everyone, and if you didn't connect with it, that's okay. But do we
Oder not a game at all.
really need to hear how much you dislike it whenever someone says they enjoy it? That's the real cringe, to be honest." Arc tweets out this picture with a caption, "And the 2026 Game of the Year goes to Mixtape." Shout out to our Tier 3 members, internet representatives. Keep
Es war much more Twitter-Beef als gedacht, aber es war interessant.